Good morning, boys and girls. We are on to chapter 22 in Al Capone Does My Shirts. This chapter is called Al Capone's Mama. So, as you may recall, Piper had some inside information that Al Capone's mama was going to be coming for a visit. And she was going to be coming, I believe, on the 9:30 or 10 o'clock ferry ride over to the island. So let's see how this goes down. All right, here we go. Al Capone's Mama, Sunday, March 31st, 1935. When the 9:30 boat pulls up, Piper is dressed for charm school. White gloves, white hat, pink sweater, pink hair ribbon. Where's Teresa? I asked Jimmy as we clomp on board. Not coming, Jimmy says. Teresa must have decided that if Rocky can't come, she's not going either. She's pretty possessive about him. It's almost as if she gave birth to that baby herself. On the boat, we head straight for the front, where none of us usually stand. I want to be the first to see Al Capone's mom waiting at the dock at Fort Mason. When the boat starts moving, we lean against the rail, straining to see the city in the hazy morning. It's a while before we see much of anything, but finally we make out the dock and then little specks of color that seem like they are people. One of these dots is the mother of public enemy number one. I think when I hear a faint wailing behind me. What's that? I ask Piper as the crying gets louder. And then out of the cabin comes Teresa, carrying a howling baby wrapped in a blue crocheted blanket. Rocky's whole face is red like butcher meat. His cries are loud enough to make dogs go deaf. Jimmy, what's Rocky doing here? Piper barks. Jimmy, help me! Teresa cries. How did you get on? Jimmy asks. Mom's going to kill you. Who says she has to know? Teresa whines. Now calm him. She shoves the screaming infant in his arms, which only makes Rocky cry even louder, though I wouldn't have thought this was possible. Mom walks him, Teresa orders. Jimmy tries walking Rocky up and down the rocking boat. He's a big baby, and Jimmy doesn't seem to have a good grip. Don't drop him, Jimmy, Teresa scrambles after him, trying to tuck the chubby little legs back into the blanket. My gram once told me that babies love the gentle sway of cars and boats, but not Rocky. When the boat pulls up to the dock, the baby is crying so loudly, Mrs. Madiman can probably hear him on Alcatraz. In the small group of people waiting on the dock at Fort Mason, there's only one woman who could be Tessina Capone. She's the old Italian woman with a big, ruddy face and white gray wavy hair. Mrs. Capone has a thick build, round shoulders, and dark, old-fashioned lace-up clothing that looks hot and uncomfortable. I thought she'd be blonde, wearing expensive furs, or flashy like her son in a canary yellow cape. She looks like anyone's grandma. As soon as Mrs. Capone comes on board, Piper claims the bench next to her, and I sit behind them. Hello, Piper holds her hand out to Mrs. Capone. My name is Piper Williams. Pleased to meet you. Mrs. Capone ignores her. She reads a letter which she holds so close to her face it seems like it would make her eyes cross-eyed. I don't know if this is because she can't see well or because she's trying to keep its contents from prying eyes. But whatever the reason, it's an effective block. Excuse me, Piper tries again. Excuse me. She drops her small pink purse on Mrs. Capone's toe. Oh, forgive me, she cries. Mrs. Capone looks down at her toe and then at Piper in surprise. Hope Piper didn't have anything heavy in there. It doesn't seem like a good idea to break the poor lady's toe. Mrs. Capone picked up the handbag and gave it back to Piper. Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry. Terribly clumsy of me, Piper says. As long as I have your attention, I was wondering But it's too late. Mrs. Capone has her nose back in her letter. Behind me, I hear Rocky wind up another howl. Mrs. Capone hears him too. Her head turns to the sound. When she sees Rocky, her whole face seems to light up like somebody flicked a switch in her head. Mrs. Capone, Piper says, apparently forgetting she isn't supposed to know her name. Let me introduce you to baby Rocky. Mrs. Capone ignores Piper. She's already on her way to Teresa, who's struggling with the howling infant, while Jimmy hops on one foot singing Farmer in the Dell. Mrs. Capone is standing right next to Teresa now. Oh, baby, she coos to Rocky. Then she taps Teresa lightly on the sleeve. Me? She offers. Teresa has been so busy with Rocky, she hasn't figured out this is Al's mom. She happily hands Rocky over to Mrs. Capone. Jimmy hesitates. He seems unable to decide what to do. Mrs. Capone takes Rocky in her arms and rocks him gently and wide, like a large cradle. Almost immediately, as if by some spell, Rocky stops crying. Mrs. Capone keeps rocking, her smile broad and sweet. Mrs. Capone, Piper won't give up. But Mrs. Capone ignores Piper and everyone else. She's busy singing a soft, sweet lullaby in what I'm guessing is Italian. As far as she's concerned, there's no one else on the boat but that black, curly haired baby. She sings to him all the way to Alcatraz. When the boat docks, baby Rocky is asleep. Mrs. Capone sighs. She hands the peacefully sleeping infant back to Teresa Madaman. Then the light in her face goes dark, and she gathers herself together and walks slowly forward. Officer Johnson meets her and speaks with her for a moment, though Mrs. Capone's blank look makes me wonder if she understands any English at all. Then he leads her through the metal detector snitch box, which blares its sharp alarm bell. Oh, Teresa cries. For crying out loud, Jimmy whistles. The old lady's got a piece. She's going to break him out, Piper cries, her mouth hanging out in complete surprise. Oh my God, Rocky, are you all right? Teresa holds him close. What were you thinking giving him to her? Jimmy hollers at Teresa. Mrs. Capone says something. I can't understand the Italian words, but it seems like she's begging him not to do something. Officer Johnson's billy club is out. He points for her to follow. Officer Johnson and now Officer Trixel escort her to a small storage room under the dock. Other guards press close, and Officer Bomini, up in the tower, trains his Thompson on Mrs. Capone. A minute later, Officer Johnson comes out. Jimmy, your mom speaks Italian. Run, get her fast. When Teresa hears this, she scoots up the hill with Rocky. She's just out of sight when Mrs. Manaman comes down the stairs wearing shoes but no stockings, a hat but no sweater. She half runs down the stairs to the dock and disappears inside the storeroom. We wait, hanging around as close as the three guards will let us. When Officer Johnson and Mrs. Capone finally come out, she's all messy looking, like she dressed in a hurry. Her eyes are cast down. Mrs. Madaman speaks Italian to her. Her voice is kind. Mrs. Capone shakes her head. She won't look up. Instead of getting into the waiting truck to go up the hill to the cell house, Mrs. Capone gets back on the boat. Later, we learn that Mrs. Capone had been strip searched to find her weapons. There were none. The metal stays on her old fashioned corset set the snitch box off. And try as she might, Mrs. Manaman could not convince the terrified Mrs. Capone that this humiliation was the last. I can't get over this. I keep thinking about when Al Capone was a baby. I'll bet his mama sang him the same song she just sang to Rocky. I'll bet she held his hand when they crossed the street, packed his lunch for school, and sewed his name in his jacket. Hey, Capone, so everyone would know it was him. I'll bet she wishes she could do it all over again, too. If only Al were little and she could. All right, our next chapter is called She's Not Cute. We'll do that tomorrow, and that's chapter 23, and that will be Tuesday, April 2nd, 1935. All right. Until next time, have a great day.